Welcome to the forecast for August 26th until September 1st. We have made it to this week. Congratulations. We have moved past that big peak of Mars and Jupiter on August 14th and went through one of the roughest weeks of the year. So here we are. Now, the themes that I've noticed for this week is about refinement of our plans, gathering together the right people, the right energies, the right habits, the right structure, things like that. So it is about refinement and solidifying our plans that we have put in place for a while now. Actually, if you can comment below, like what has been working out in your life? Like what have you been building? Even if you're in the foundational phases of this, what have you been playing with, working on, tinkering with that is just really thrilling you and exciting you, and just some new plan, new idea that has just given birth in the last couple of months, in the last few months, for example? Let me know what's happening in your life. So we're going to talk about the Virgo energies that are really present with us for this week, which is also going to help us with that sorting, with that discernment, sifting through all of the details and all of the information and situations that's coming at us. Let me go ahead and share my screen so that you can have a visual of all the things that I am talking about. And if you're really enjoying these forecasts, please do like, subscribe, share with others. Oh, wow, there's double sharing. Let's just do one share. Okay. um, Please share this with others so that they can get this message and know how to plan and prep for this week ahead, especially those people who are very sensitive, who are classifying themselves as empaths, because this just gives a bit of preparation and know how to, with our expectations. Sometimes we think something's going to go one way, but the energies are a totally different way, and then we get all frustrated about it. But in reality, it's just the nature of how things are. So I have found that I've had a lot of peace as I know what's upcoming and know how to plan my days, plan my life just a little bit better. Obviously, there's so much, unknown and uncontrollables that happen once in a while, but you get an overall sense. And these stars, these planets, they don't lie about what they're delivering us. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into Monday. Monday, there are a lot of aspects here and configurations that are going to continue on for the rest of the week. So I strongly encourage you to finish all of Monday, listening to Monday, because essentially that's going to be largely the themes of the whole week. Now, the moon does move quite a bit, and that is going to change, and that's a lot of what I'm going to be talking about in terms of our moods and our emotions, but everything else is pretty much going to stick around for the whole week. And I will let you know, I'll give you some timelines for certain aspects and configurations. So let's go into our sun in Virgo. And Virgo is an earth sign. This is ruled by Mercury. Even though it's an earth sign, it moves pretty fast. Now with Virgo here, our minds are just going to be a little bit more restless. It's a doer. It likes to do and get things done. Almost like stillness is exhausting and doing is relaxing. Does anyone relate to that? I'm a Virgo rising, so yeah, that's absolutely me. Doing something. Also, Mercury rules the hands, well, actually the arms and the shoulders, arms, and hands. So the desire to do something and work with something that involves the hands is something that will be very relieving for you during this time as well. Now, this sun in Virgo desires to accomplish something that is meaningful, something that is practical, useful, important, worth your time. So there's a constant striving to make something, accomplish something, and to create order out of chaos. Now, Virgo does not like chaos. That's why it wants to order things. It wants to arrange things. It wants to create peace and harmony in its own way. And so if you find yourself wanting to rearrange, areas in your life, maybe your car, your home, things like that, it's because of all this Virgo energy. And we also have Venus in Virgo as well. And Venus represents our pleasures. It represents our hobbies, the things that we do for fun. Some of the things we might want to do for fun may include clearing clutter, may include cleaning, may include rearranging, and just creating more of more organization and more symmetrical, to give you an idea. Now, another representation of Venus is relationships, and Venus doesn't like to be here. Venus wants to have fun. It wants to play. It wants to enjoy itself. It wants to be in luxury, right? And then Virgo is like hardworking, driving, and it's also super critical because Virgo can pick out what is wrong. That is the superpower of Virgo, is to find the flaws. And when we're talking about, relationships, like people who are close to us, because Venus is also relationships and close friends, family members, like people we have intimate connections with, platonic as well as romantic. Well, this might bring some nitpicking, some criticizing, some judging, and so this might not be the best influence right here. And not only that, if you take a look at Venus, we'll just dive into it real quickly. We have this red line to Mars, that planet of conflict, fighting, war. We have this square, which is a difficult aspect to Mars. And this could mean, being too critical and nitpicky, leading to some fighting and some disagreements. Be careful about verbalizing things that are kind of attacking in nature, because like I said, Mars is very aggressive. It likes to fight. So be cautious of that. All right, we do need to talk about Moon in Gemini. Now, just like I said before, Mercury rules Virgo. Mercury also rules Gemini. So we have a lot of this Mercury influence for this week. And Mercury is that planet of communication, it's ideas, it's conversation. And Gemini is an air sign, so it moves pretty fast. And the moon also does represent the subconscious mind. It represents our emotions and our feelings. So it's going to be very active in the head. Gemini is quite actually a logical sign. So you're going to have a bit more mental activity. Also consider the fact that this moon is right next to these two very intense planets that we've been talking about for some weeks now. Is Mars and Jupiter here is in Gemini. And Jupiter's only going to heighten and expand that mental restlessness and mental activity. But then you also have Mars here, which just heats things up even more. It's a very fiery planet. So a lot of yang energy. And Gemini is yang in nature. So it's like quadruple the yang that we get to experience. Now, you're going to be taking in, with all of these influences between Virgo and Gemini, you're taking in a lot of data, a lot of information, your environment as well, a lot of sensory impressions, and you are sorting, sifting, digesting, analyzing, breaking down, assimilating, piecing things together. So it's an active time. And it's an active time of also learning and taking in and digesting information. I wouldn't say it's a time to make, super solid conclusions either, but it's a very great time to gather information, to learn, to study, to understand. And that's why I say, like, this is a good time of refining of your plans. I'm not saying it's the final end conclusion piece, but working on your plans, solidifying things, gathering data from the past and what seems to be sitting, what seems to be working out, what isn't. So Let's talk about some other aspects that are happening between the sun and the moon. We do have this sun and moon at a square, so it's a red line. Sun's at 3 degrees, moon is at 6 degrees. This can bring some tension, building up pressure in the work field, in the workspace, or even domestically. So as you can see, between like that Venus square Mars and this moon, the sun square moon, these are both layers of conflict, layers of, tension and irritation that could be present too, and just more emotional upsets. We do have moon in trine with Pluto. I like that. Pluto provides us, the depth of our experience or life experience. This is about transformation. But with the moon here, I really like this trine. Even though it's intense, it's very raw and it's very real and honest. And this is a way for us to access some of our more unconscious, deeper feelings and bringing them to the surface that we before wouldn't have access to. So I really like this one. It's also going to make you a bit more sensitive to others as well and what kind of feelings they are going through. Now, let's talk about this T-square. We had a T-square last week and we're going to have a T-square this week, but it's shifted a little bit. The apex has shifted. Before it was pointing straight at Jupiter, but this time we are pointing straight at Mars. And remember, this Mars Jupiter, it's getting better and better with each passing day as far as its intensity. And we are currently at about 8 degrees apart. So once we pass like that 10 degree, it's going to lessen quite a bit. But let's take a look at this T-square. So this is a T-square is when we have an opposition, so from one end to the other. Okay, so this one is going to be Venus and Neptune right here. So they're literally on opposite ends. And then we have squares pointing at the top of this red triangle going right to Mars. So just to recall, we have Venus and Neptune in opposition, and then squares. Each of those planets are squaring Mars. So everything is like pointing up to Mars. All that energy is charged up to Mars. This is called an achievement triangle. This gets things moving and into action. So let's talk about this dynamics because the focus is on Mars. Now, you have Venus, which has to do with, our relationships. And then you have Neptune, which is also in retrograde, can represent delusions and illusions and secrets, lies, things like that. It also represents the dissolving of boundaries too. So one of the things to be cautious and careful of here has to do with the right people. Who are the right people that we are meant to bring into this next phase of our lives, into the plans that are set in place right now for us. And we want to make sure those boundaries are secure, because in this situation we can have some dissolution of boundaries as well. Venus also represents our pleasure and our play, and with Neptune here, this can create a little too much excess into pleasure and play. Too much indulgence could be happening as well. So what is this all pointing to? It's all pointing to Mars. Mars has to do with our ambitions, our goals, our drive, our passion. And the way that I see this dynamic playing out is making sure that we don't have people in our lives, wrong people. Okay, look, we are not classifying any person as good, bad. It's just about the right fit. This is a discussion around the right fit. So people who are not the right fit in our lives, that are not being supportive and not adding to, what Mars wants to do in our lives. Mars wants to go. It wants to initiate. It has a goal and it wants to achieve it. And this is what I'm seeing is it's important we do not allow people into our world and into our space, into our lives that are going to hinder, prevent, or significantly slow down the drive and willpower inside of us and slow us down from the manifestation and the devotion, right? And the development of this particular goal that we have in our lives right now. And to also not let too much like indulgence and too much play and pleasure. We got to have both in life for sure. Absolutely. But when we get into excess of that, that is taking away from us driving what we need to drive into, okay? Taking away from that ambition, taking away from our passion, taking away that need to do. Because with this Virgo energy, this does help with the sun here in Virgo. This is going to help sort and sift also what is right, what is not right. The sun represents our identity and our ego, and we want to make sure that there is this congruence that's happening here. Okay, so that is our big, this is going to be going on for a while. Let me tell you, till August 30th. Till August 30th. So pay attention, keep an eye out, just evaluate. This is a lot of evaluation here. And notice, like, does this person add to, support, nurture the goals that are presenting themselves in my life right now? Or does this person take away, or do they distract, or do they dissolve my ambition, my drive, my passion? Some things to consider. All right, so that's the big one. We talked about Mars and Jupiter here. I'll just kind of recap. I have said this a handful of times in previous forecasts, but if you're new, Mars is our ambition, our drive, our willpower, as I've said, and Jupiter brings expansion to whatever it's nearby. It brings growth and opportunities. So for it being in Gemini, Gemini is our self-expression. Gemini is also our ability, our communication, how we express ourselves, how we interact, how we learn as well. And with Mars and Jupiter here in Gemini, a lot of us are wanting to learn something different, learn something new, grow and expand ourselves in something, different that we haven't experienced before. Many of us are going through in the background just a reinvention, an evolution, a really big personal transformation that's happening everywhere. And so this is intense though, because you have this fiery planet and this gigantic planet together, and it can create some pathologies as well. For example, philosophical extremism. Jupiter does represent our beliefs, how we view the world, what we believe is true and right. And so it could be a bit militant in nature. As you can tell, around the world, people are definitely fighting violently for their beliefs. So that's why you're seeing that more, on the collective scale. But personally too, you probably are going to get a bit more passionate and heated about how you think and how you feel about something, and exploring a whole side of yourself that you haven't seen before. So there is that for Mars and Jupiter. But it can also bring a lot of arrogance too, and just being a bit haughty, boastful, things like that, because this is very big. And we have our moon that is near all of this. Watch, it'll get sandwiched on Tuesday between Mars and Jupiter as well. Okay. Now, I do want to mention this one. I haven't brought it up in a bit, is this Uranus and Taurus. And this is going to be around till July 2025. So once in a while, I'm just going to come back around and remind you, don't forget, this energy is here. If I were to point out every single thing, we would be on here for 5 hours. And clearly, I don't have that time and you don't have that time either. But what I like about this is that Uranus is a very active planet. I mean, it's a planet of change, bringer of chaos. But essentially, it brings change, and it's evolutionary change. It is a personal like upgrade. It's an update essentially. And when it's here in Taurus, this is going to fuel that determination, that willpower. Taurus is also very hardworking. It's an earth sign. So a lot of the earth signs are very consistent, they're diligent, they're committed. So especially in this time of reinvention and evolution that many of us are going through, I am so grateful that Uranus is here in Taurus because it is helping to support the follow through that we need to enact in order to make this transformation complete. So that is the beautiful power of Uranus here to support us, to achieve what we need to build what we need to create what we need to. And another thing about Taurus is that this represents our values, okay? Our values, what we deem as valuable, what we deem as important. And between everything that's happening in Mars and Jupiter and Uranus here, many of us are going through a change in what we care about, like what matters to us, what's important to us. I feel like a completely different person lately. Of the things that I want to focus my time, energy, effort is so radically different lately than, for example, even 3 to 5 years ago. We all have a core baseline that doesn't change, but there are things that do shift. There are seasons, like, for example, being a young adult to becoming a parent, right? Those are different eras of our lives, versus becoming a grandparent. I imagine it's a whole another era of a human existence as well. But we are changing in the things that we value and the things that we care about, our philosophies, the meaning of life, what we feel is true about life. Like there's a lot of internal, right? Internal change and evolution that's happening. So I feel that this is a very supportive placement, and we have that until July of 2025. So we got a whole year of this. And that's the beautiful thing about this era, that even though the world is changing and we are all individually changing so much, there is so much support and positive placements of these planets that are making it it's still difficult at times, but it's less difficult than it could be. It's not as violent, like on an individual level. It doesn't feel as violent as maybe some other seasons and cycles of life in the past of human history. Okay. Now, I did forget to mention Mercury. My bad. So Mercury is in Leo here, and Mercury is that planet of communication, as I've mentioned before, and it rules Virgo and Gemini. And here in Leo, this is going to be a bit more expressive. Leo's super expressive, and it's playful, and it's fun. So thankfully, in some ways, we get some lightheartedness right here. It's very heart-centered too, and which I think is great. With Leo, if it's not heart-centered, there is just no interest. You have to be emotionally invested. And so with Mercury here, it's going to help us make sure that the things that we are involved in, we are also emotionally invested in. Okay. Now, let's see. Mercury does have a sextile over to Jupiter, which is a nice aspect here that we get. This is going to help being more considerate of our overall plans. Mercury can be more detailed, and Jupiter is the bigger picture. And so between these two in good conversation, it's a nice mixture of paying attention to the details, as we get from, over here in Virgo and Gemini, but then also having a bird's eye view of things to make sure that our plans are fitting, are working out. Now it is in retrograde. We're in retrograde for just another day until the 27th. We're almost out of retrograde. So this is also reevaluating, reassessing. Retrograde is all about just taking your time and reflecting just a little bit more and paying attention to the details. Okay. Now, there is another there's another aspect I want to mention, and it's going to be around until mid-September, until September 15th. And this one has to do with Saturn, and it is in square with Jupiter. Now, this is a little bit challenging, but I don't want you to be afraid of it, okay? Even though it's challenging, I also find it to be supportive and necessary. Saturn does bring restrictions and limitations, and Jupiter is opportunities, right? And growth and expansion. However, Saturn is refinement. And that's why I talk about refinement of plans this week, because Saturn is going to check Jupiter. Sometimes Jupiter can be just a little too in la la land and a little too like optimistic to a point of delusional. All right. It's great to be optimistic, but it's also great to be realistic too at the same time. So because Mars is still next to Jupiter, the Jupiter just gets a little out of hand in being maybe too daydreamy about things too. And so with Saturn here, I feel like it calms in a way the intensity of this Mars next to Jupiter. So it's going to bring some testing, it's going to bring some challenges and some restrictions, but it's going to test your plans. It's going to test the strength and how solid your plans are, how strong your plans are, how right and true your plans are, the things that you're creating right now. So even though it can be frustrating that things are slowing down, or you're trying to start something but you're coming up against some obstacles, excuse me, at the same time, I like some of the boundaries and the borders that Saturn provides to ensure that we're not just like overinflated, okay, with our plans and our dreams, and to a point where we're not connected to the real outcomes of what we're trying to do and create. So basically, because Saturn also rules Capricorn, which is an earth sign, there's a grounding that happens, and I feel that that's important and useful for us. And this, like I said, this is going to be around for a bit. Okay, so that is Monday, and a lot of what I spoke about will apply to this whole week, but the moon is going to be one that moves quite a bit, and the sun will be staying in Virgo for the rest of this week, of course, was definitely for the next month. So let's continue on to Tuesday. So Tuesday is the 27th. We now have our moon over here that is sandwiched in between Jupiter and Mars. And look, it's right next to Jupiter. Jupiter does bring a lot of optimism and positivity and excitement and hope and faith and exuberance. So we can definitely have that. And then we have Mars right next to it, which is the passion and willpower and drive. Can be a little irritable. This is a lot for the moon. So coming from both sides, it's not going to be a calm, chill day. And then you've got to think about Gemini, which is going to be really stimulating our mind. So your mind might be racing, might have a lot of different thoughts, and a lot of young feelings. How about that? Just very young feelings. So, but you might feel very optimistic and hopeful and very generous too, giving. It may feel really nice this day because of that. But just be careful of some conflict here and there. All right. We have moon also in sextile with Mercury, if I can find this. Yep, there it is. Here's the moon. Here's Mercury. So they're in this blue like star, and that's a very nice connection. This is going to give us access to our feelings. So all of the thoughts that are going and going and going, and all of the ideas, right? We're going to be able to talk about it. We're going to be able to talk about it with passion and excitement and exuberance, especially since Mercury is over here in Leo. So this will be really nice because you'll have an outlet of expression, and it's not just kind of stuck up here in the mind. You'll be able to to express as well. We have moon this one's a little challenging. We have moon that is square the Saturn, the planet of Saturn. And so this can bring some feelings of sadness and loneliness as well, or just negativity. My hope is that right here, with all that this is going on, that it will override some of the struggles that Saturn could give us. So, and remember, we have that Saturn that's also in square with Jupiter too, bringing that like sobering like reality to the forefront, to our consciousness too. But overall, with the moon in a good sextile with Mercury, I feel that it'll be able to overcome this Saturn. But that's just my perspective. You'll have to let me know how that works out. All right. So that's Tuesday. Very simple. Oh, you know what? Let me see. Okay, no, we're not there yet. So Wednesday, let's talk about Wednesday. Wednesday, we have the moon that has shifted now. The moon has moved into the sign of Cancer, which is a water sign, and it's its natural home. You know, every planet has signs where it feels very comfortable, it's very at home. This is an ideal location, okay? And so it is going to support that receptivity that the moon exudes, right? It's more romantic, it's very intuitive, it's very nurturing, it's compassionate, it just wants to support and take care of, and it's refined and delicate as well, and it fits the changing moods and phases of the moon. So there could be some moodiness, some crabbiness, of course, because this Cancer is representative of the crab, but it's pretty passing. I mean, wait 2 hours and your mood will probably change if you're in a funk. So, but overall, the moon is obviously greatly supported here, being in its home sign. Now, we have a lot of conversations to the moon. As you noticed, you see all of these aspects. We have moon trine the sun, which is a nice conversation. This is going to bring some harmony and ease and flow. I like that. Bring also some vitality too, some energy, and then physical energy, I mean. And then we have moon in square Venus. That one can bring a well, it's not too bad. It's more or less like pleasant and light, and you'll enjoy being in the company of others with this, especially people that are very, very close to you, not just like a bunch of strangers. Moon is also pretty much still conjunct Mars, so this is where you could have a little bit of irritability, feeling annoyed. And we have moon then lastly squaring Neptune. So moon square Neptune, what I've noticed with moon square Neptune is sometimes our intuition here could be a little off. Meaning it's not very clear, it's a bit more fuzzy, so we don't have, this clear, sharp access to intuition. So in this day, if you're picking up on something, just like store it. Make a record of it. Don't make major moves based on what you're intuiting on this day. Just hold on, because look, by Thursday, like that should pass. Yeah, so that passes. So just remember that you're going to be a bit more sensitive too with moon square Neptune. You're going to have more sensitivity. Those boundaries start to kind of weaken. These are the times where it's good, if you follow my work with essential oils, to add boundaries blend on this day, because boundaries can dissolve a little bit. And not only does being out of alignment with ourselves can weaken boundaries, but sometimes certain aspects can do that too. Certain arrangements of planets in the sky can create that scenario, can create that situation. So put on some boundaries blend if you have that handy. Okay, so let's continue on to Thursday. Now, Thursday, moon is still in Cancer. We have just one really good aspect to the moon, the Saturn. The planet of Saturn is trining the moon, and I like this because it keeps our emotions under control in a good way, meaning like our moods aren't going to be so elevated to an extreme. And it's very sobering. I like the groundedness of Saturn. I know Saturn gets a bad rap many times, and it can be challenging, but it's also very helpful for our growth and development. So I'm one of those that like Saturn. I'm a weirdo. Okay, so anyways, that's in the astrological community might think I'm a weirdo. All right, the other thing I wanted to mention is our planet Venus has moved into Libra. It was in Virgo, see, up until Wednesday, right here. And then on Thursday, it's in Libra and it's in its home sign. So we have two planets here that are in their home sign. Well, actually, three. We also have Neptune in Pisces, which is one of its more modern rulers. But we have the moon in Cancer and we have Venus in Libra. Now, Venus is about romance and pleasure and fun, right? And so that's what Libra is a lot about, harmony and peace. This is not an area where it wants to like work hard. It likes the arts, it likes entertainment, it likes poetry, okay, literature. So it also loves luxury. So this a good way to support your Venus here in Libra is to embrace luxury, embrace, like, do something extra special and sweet for yourself. Ambiance is everything with Venus in Libra. So maybe you did some arranging and clutter clearing while Venus was and Sun is in Virgo, but then by Thursday, now it's like, let's put some flowers in the room. Let's get some candles going, really like elevating the whole experience, the setting of where you're at. So that's a nice placement. And Venus also has a trine over to Pluto. I mean, it's 0 degrees Pluto, 0 degrees Venus. And I do like this. This is going to bring depth of connection and depth to our pleasure, to really experiencing the fullness of our relationships. And so the quality of your conversations should be quite rich at this time. Now, it does square, Mars, so do be careful in that sense. I wouldn't be around quarrelsome people. I would be around people that bring you a lot of peace and softness and enjoyment. So not very like high conflict type personalities. Okay, so that is Thursday. Let's continue on to Friday. Friday is the 30th, and we have our moon that is still in Cancer, and it has a lot of conversations here on this day too. So it has an opposition to Pluto. Now, with that opposition, this is going to bring some emotion. It's also in Cancer, so emotions are going to be strong. It's going to be felt, and it might not be pleasant all the way around too. There could be a bit of guilt or jealousy rising up inside of you as well. So just keep an eye out on that. Look, moon is in a water sign right now. And if you are feeling uncomfortable with the intensity of emotions, just expose yourself to water. Maybe like take a nice bath or even a shower at the least. But being around water could be one way to soothe this moon out here. Now, we also have moon in sextile to Uranus, which you're going to want a little excitement, something different, especially with all this intensity. You're going to need to find a fun, exciting way to release some of that pressure. And then we have moon that is in trine with Neptune, which is different than when it was in square. Before moon was in square with Neptune, let me see, it was on this day, on Wednesday, which can kind of cloud our intuition. But then for Friday, it's going to be a bit sharper here in that sense. So that's really nice. And also our imagination, our creativity, our sensitivity, all of that is going to expand, especially with this conversation that moon is having with Pluto. Okay, so that is our Friday. Let's take a look. Oh, I did forget to mention one thing on Friday. My apologies. It is this opposition between Sun and Saturn, and this is going to also be here till September 14th. This can be a little bit difficult when it comes to authority figures, people telling you what to do. This could bring, again, some limitations, either via circumstances or people, tasks feeling a bit more overwhelming, and just having a harder time in communication with others too. So we have some challenges in this week when it comes to the way that we interact with people. So we want to be conscientious and cautious of that. All right. Now, Saturday, we only have 2 more days left. So Saturday, the main difference is our moon has moved. As you can see, moon 2 to 3 days is how long it stays in a sign. And we have it in Leo right next to Mercury. And I like this. Well, I have my moon in Leo, so I'm a little bit biased. but moon in Leo is positive. It's sparkly, it's warming, it's very stable. Leo is a fixed sign. Even though it's fire, it's kind of like a fireplace fire that's constantly burning. Of course, you got to put wood in it, but it's constantly burning. It's always there. It's stable, it's reliable. It's the heart of the home, right? So it's very heart-centered. Between, your choices and what you're going to put your effort and energy into, it's going to be really prevalent that it needs to be heart-centered. It has to be something you care about, that you're passionate about. It will be so difficult to physically put your body or make your body do things that you are just not into. so which in a way I think it's great, because it's gonna help reveal to you maybe things that are not aligned with your heart, and it'll show you, like, you'll physically feel it, because the moon also represents the body. It represents our emotional body, but it also represents our physical body. So you'll know, like, if something isn't right, or a location or a person, you're not gonna be very invested and sparkly and outgoing and open and receptive and and really just expressive. It'll be obvious to you. So I do like that. Okay, now lastly, on Sunday, September 1st, entering a new month, our moon is still in Leo, and it is conjunct Mercury. So this is really just going to help you to express your feelings, especially just what's been inside of your heart, very easily. You're going to have access to it. You'll probably be in good communication with women, women friends, girlfriends. Like, this is because the moon represents women. So this will be a good time to just talk. Have conversations, have your voice notes, text messages, phone conversations, hangouts, go have dinner, lunch, coffee, tea, like, go socialize. This is a good time to socialize. Okay, so there's that one. And then we have, lastly, moon square Uranus. And this is going to bring some, possibly some disruption, but it's going to bring more rebelliousness, independence, and wanting to make sure that you are able to do what you want to do. And we talked a lot about that last week, so it's going to pop up a bit here as well. You might not do well with people trying to restrain you in any way, shape, or form. Might not want to focus on, like, all your duties and responsibilities. It is Sunday, so this you need a little bit more freedom to do what feels fun for you, essentially, is especially with your moon here in Leo, and next to Mercury. So be wild and free. Sunday is our day to be wild and free, not responsible. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this forecast. Remember to please like and subscribe, hit that bell so that you get notified every time a new video is up. And please share with us in the comments how this past week has been for you. are you feeling more and more relief as our Mars and Jupiter is starting to separate right here? Look at this. It's about 9 degrees away. So we're almost in the clear here. And if you'd like a cosmic clarity consultation and looking at your personal natal chart, go ahead and click on the link down below. And to get really custom blends, meditations, workshops, considering my community as well as what's going on energetically out in the world, I have amazing recipes there that are available to you from the Rise and Thrive membership. So that will be down below as well. Thank you so much. And we will see you next week for next week's forecast.